Hello everybody, Webb Weekly Live coming to you. It's an exciting time of the year in Williamsport, PA.
Absolutely.
Steph Nordstrom, my editor and keeper of me staying out of trouble. The beginning of the Little League World Series starts tonight with the Grand Slam Parade.
Yeah, parade steps off at 5:30. They've got a great lineup in store, so it's always a fun time downtown. Please be aware that streets are going to be closed. They usually close the streets around 2 o'clock for parking, so make sure you've got other plans in mind as to where you're going to park and be safe going downtown. There's going to be a lot of kids running around, so be careful out there.
Great time of year, and the parade has just grown and grown over the year. The Chamber of Commerce has done such a great job. The City of Williamsport, great job with it. No Webb Weekly float. I always think we should have a Webb Weekly float.
We always talk about it, and we never managed to get one together. Maybe next year.
All right. We might as well get right into it. We have a busy show today.
We do.
The Webb Weekly Roundup. What do you got?
Well, we've got all things Little League. Lou has a great story on what's new at Little League this year and what's happening. He also has a great story on all of the pin trading going on at the Genetti. They're doing pin trading all 10 days of Little League World Series. They go from like 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 1 o'clock in the morning. So there's lots of great pins to be found.
And maybe we should do a Webb Weekly pin.
See, that's something else that we talked about. My friend JP does the design for Lycoming Bakery's pin, and he always says how much fun it is to decide what they're going to do every year. So we should really think about that.
Well, I'm giving you that job for next year.
Okay.
All right. What else you got?
We actually have a really entertaining story from Jamie Spencer, who recently took a vacation to California. Took his family to a baseball game to see the Dodgers play. Learned a very valuable lesson about why you should always use 2 hands when catching a fly ball. It's one of those stories that's more entertaining for the people it didn't happen to. But so be sure to check out Jamie's story on his adventures at Dodger Stadium.
Jamie always has a unique look at life, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that brings us to your favorite time. So we gotta give away your money.
What are we giving away this week?
We have a $25 gift card for Sinner Saint.
Okay.
It's a nice place they've got a great outdoor patio, so you can enjoy a meal outside, and they're a little bit off the beaten path, so if you want to step back from the Little League crowds a little bit, Sinner Saint's a great place. They've got a great cocktail menu. Their menu is really great. I enjoy stopping in there.
It is. It's another one of those unique places in town, and offers a lot of different things you don't get just anywhere. You know what? And I feel in a giving spirit too because of Little League Baseball.
All right.
So I will give away, in the spirit of Little League Baseball, a $50 gift card to Harder Sporting Goods.
Okay.
My good friends up there, Scott Nicholas, that I've known for years. He's taking care of the boys with gloves and bats and bats and bat. You know that. And I'll give away a $50 gift card. We'll give the callers the choice, or however. You're the tech lady. How
about you let a caller call in for the Harders card, and I'll do my trivia question for the Sinner and Saint.
Perfect.
All right.
First caller on the Harders card.
And trivia question in honor of Little League is, who was the first Little League graduate to become president of the United States? So which president was a Little League graduate?
I think I know that one.
You think?
Yeah.
All right. So no, can't take your own money. So answer the question below. Who is the first Little League graduate to become president of the United States? For the $25 gift card to Sinner or Saint, call into the office 570-326-9322 to pick up the Harder Sporting Good gift card.
Excellent. And I want to give a shout out to Morgan Kraft over in the Olympics. And actually, she was nice enough to give me a coffee mug. She finished fifth place.
Yes.
And Justin, the other young man?
Josh,
the other?
he did pretty well. He held his own. So we've got more coming on that in the future. Ken Hunter and John Priest are both working on something to give them a proper congratulations.
Excellent. And congratulations, Morgan. Great shooting. And she was real close to getting 3rd place, getting the bronze medal.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, Steph, you have one more thing before
we actually took some time with the Chief of Police, David Young, to get his thoughts on Little League and what to expect and getting out there in the community. So we're going to head over to City Hall for just a minute and get his thoughts, and then we'll be back.
Okay. Thanks, Steph. Great as always.
Thank you.
I'm back downtown with Williamsport City Police Chief David Young. Wonderful week of the year, actually longer than a week now. Little League World Series comes to town. Williamsport welcomes the world. How you doing, Chief?
Great. Thanks
Good
for
to
coming.
see you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us again. Main thing is, it's a wonderful time of year for everybody that lives in this area, but most importantly, we have a lot of guests descending on our area. What are your thoughts about how to make this experience, the most enjoyable, and also for our hometown folks?
Well, first of all, I think you have to look at your surroundings and see where you're at, where you're staying, where you can park, and especially when it comes to the parade, you'll see a police presence there. And I would say, as a visitor, shake our officers' hand, interact with them, and they'll interact back with you. This is a family event. We're here to support Little League as well as showcase our city.
And obviously, any questions they would have about the city, about anything going on, approach an officer, ask them the question. They'll be more than glad.
And if you are out and you have some time, stop by City Hall, take a tour, stop into the police department, come back, and if I have time, I'll be available during the week, during the 10 days, and we'll maybe have a conversation about some things that are going on in town, what the future is for Williamsport, and what's going on across the river as far as Little League Baseball.
Absolutely. And tonight, the big events, the Grand Slam Parade, the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Williamsport puts on, and going to be a lot of people downtown. And any advice on how to view the parade, how to handle the traffic, get in and out of town? I
would say get here early, find your spot. Parking will be at a premium. There'll be a lot of streets that'll be closed off. However, there are many municipal lots that you'll be able to park in and view the parade from different perspectives or areas within the city. So get here early. The weather I see is supposed to be in the low to mid 80s, which is good. Some of the humidity will go away, which will make for a more comfortable environment.
Absolutely, and that's, to me, is always the key to it. It's a long parade, and the weather sure helps when it's a little cooler side. The world descends on us for about 2 weeks now, and I am proud of our area and how everybody welcomes people, takes care of people, and makes the Little League experience, which they should, the World Series, fantastic. I know you're very familiar. Your boy played baseball, and anything you want to add to that?
Just remember, it's a family event, and that's what it's about. It's about the kids and the experience that they're going to have. Everything else outside of that is a bonus. We're here for the kids. We're here to bring our children to this area, to let them enjoy all the events surrounding the Little League Baseball and the circumstances in which they'll participate or not participate in as far as being over at Little League.
Absolutely, and I think that pretty much covers it. Make the experiences great for the kids, whether they're playing or not, that you can. And thanks for taking the time here today. And the key point, if you're out and about, any police officer, not just from the City of Williamsport, if you need any questions answered, please approach them, ask them. They'd be more than glad to help. And we're going to take a commercial break and be right back.
Let the good times roll at Faxon Lanes in Williamsport. Faxon Lanes offers good fun for everyone. From our state-of-the-art bowling lanes and spacious arcade to our award-winning pizza and wings at the American Bar and Grill. Planning a party? Let Faxon Lanes make it a day to remember with great food and fun. Faxon Lanes offers leagues for all ages and a full-service pro shop. Faxon Lanes on River Avenue in Williamsport. Fun happens here.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with a special guest, Steph and I couldn't think of a better guest as we're heading into the Little League World Series. We're heading into the high school football season. Then our very own Gary Chrisman. Welcome, Gary.
Jim, appreciate it.
Welcome.
Steph.
Well, Gary,
this is a fun time of the year. It's going to be busy. You're catching me the day we get ready for the parade tonight and then the World Series. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And I thank you for taking the time. And I know you and I could probably talk for 6 hours here.
I'm sure we could.
But very briefly, Cable Sport, we'll start with Cable Sports Productions. 30 years, amazing. All the athletes, all the games you covered. Just a quick thought about that.
Yeah, it was hard to believe. It was actually 1987. 29 years, our 30th season starts on August 26th, and we're going to be teaming up with you, of course, with WebbWeeklyLive.com as far as streaming the games, and we'll tell you a little bit more about it. But it was at a time when I had done radio for ever since college and coming back here, and it was at a time we had done PM Magazine on Channel 16. The show was canceled. I was doing radio, and I approached Joe Lecce at the cable company way back when.
Good friend of my father.
Yeah, good friend of my parents.
Yeah.
And Dimension Cable, and go to Joe Lecce, who's one of the pioneers of cable, and I said, Joe, we'd like to televise games. And he said, great. Long story short, we got into a thing where I was hustling sponsors. My boss, Al Dame, at the time with Kiss FM, saw the real potential of having his morning guy doing TV sports, and but then Joe said, well, you have to bill it. This is your thing. I thought I was working for you, Joe. Bottom line is my boss signed off on it, and here we are 30 years later. First game we ever did was fall of '87, Williamsport Berwick. Jake Kelchner was their QB. Williamsport had Corey Jett and a lot of outstanding players, and Williamsport beat them that night. And it started our football season and then into basketball. We haven't looked back since, so it's been hard to believe it. Joe Lecce is the guy that gave us the shot to do it that very first time.
And we'll come back to cable sports.
Sure.
But I guess we got to go maybe reverse order, but Kiss FM all these years.
Oh, yeah.
Your morning show.
See, I do that show, somebody said, what's it like doing the Chrisman show? And it's sort of like being in the 7th grade with the teacher out of the room. That's what it's like. And that's what we do every week. So I've been lucky enough to do that all these years. This is our 40th year of the Chrisman show.
40th year.
Full time. I'll be 92 on Monday, but we've had a great run with it. We're celebrating it. It's our 40th year of doing that show full time, and we're going to kind of have a big promotion and party this year to kind of celebrate that this fall. But that's the wacky stuff. But on the straight side of things, we do the sports, and that's something that I've loved to do, and I've done it since I was at the University of Miami, starting out doing baseball and football back in the 70s.
And we'll get into that a little deeper. And then, of course, we're sort of working out of order for today, but Little League Baseball.
Yeah.
And our good friend Bill Byam and Ken Sawyer,
yep.
And your whole connection. And now, more or less, you're the voice of Little League Baseball.
Yeah. So, the amazing thing is the Little League World Series. I was working part-time at the old WWPA. Summer of 73 and 74, you weren't even thought of it. The Riz might have been around because he's much older than a lot of people that I know. But I've got to tell you, so my first World Series was 1974, and I was in college, getting ready to go into my senior year in college, and had a chance to work with Ken Sawyer, and that was during the Taiwanese dynasty.
Oh.
And that was my first World Series with the idea I didn't know if I'd be coming back to town. I came back and loved the town. I was coming back for 5 minutes. I stayed for 40 plus years. And that was the first of all these World Series. So this World Series this year is my 43rd, 42 years and 43rd World Series. So
fantastic. Wow.
It's straight, and I haven't missed any.
And how about, I mentioned it, a couple of weeks back, we had Steve Keener and spoke with him about Little League. Great time up at Little League. But I mentioned in the beginning that I was selling Gatorade and Orangeade when the Taiwanese flags, when there was a little altercation.
That's right.
Were you doing that?
And I'm looking back at that. There were a number of years that some of the Chinese nationals got into it with some of the other folks, and they had an altercation. I remember one year, and it might have been when I was in college, they put the state police helicopter down in the outfield right onto a lot of these protesters. So they had two factions of Chinese that came in from D.C. and New York. There were a couple of years there were issues. The one year I remember I was out there on the hill watching, and then I think maybe one of those first years doing the games, that there were some issues back then.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for bringing that up. I'm sure that is.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Hey, we're going to take our first commercial break here for our good friends at Fax and Bowling, and a great place to go if you're in town for Little League or if you live in town. Fax and Bowling, great place, great little restaurant, the American Bar and Grill. So we'll take it away, and we'll be right back.
Bowling is back. Let the good times roll at Faxon Lanes in Williamsport.
And we're back. Back with Gary Chrisman, and we appreciate having you on the show today.
Sure.
So you said you've done, 40 plus years of Little League World Series. I was impressed because I'm on my 9th. So what's been your favorite moment of the World Series?
Wow, I've been lucky enough to do the games with Ken and Buck and all the years. Yeah, I think one of the ones that stands out to me, it happens to be Kirkland, Washington, 1982. Taiwan, as you remember, was so dominant, and I'm still to this day not sure that they were playing on the same playing rules of that time. They were ridiculously dominant.
What would you mean, Mr. Chrisman?
Well, certainly, age was one thing, and I know there was only so much Little League could do at the time to investigate. But you remember in 1975, they did look into it because all the international teams did not come.
And there was no truth to the rumor that the pilot of the plane actually pitched the championship game to Taiwan for Taiwan.
That's true. That's true. We could get into a whole lot of the Chrisman show version of this, but we're doing my version on Little League.
Go ahead.
We've had some fun. Our Leonard's Little League World Series semi-historic moments have probably taken the series back about 50 years. But there was no doubt. I think Taiwan had a national team of players from a wider margin, and then they were later clipped on that. Remember, they were nailed on that years later when they had a little bit better way to investigate. But the Taiwanese physically were a bigger, powerful team. I remember even Dr. Yasui, who was the physician of Little League, basically talking about these kids are physically much more mature for kids that were 12 years old. However, we're not going to get into the controversy of that. But Little League Baseball, without question, they had the ABC contract. ESPN, I think, was just about starting. They needed a shot in the arm. And Cody Webster, Kirkland, Washington, 1982. Cody was the guy that got him going. And the funny thing is, we never saw it coming. 1980 and 81, team from Belmont Heights Little League in Tampa, Florida.
Yep, remember
and Derek Bell and, of course, Gary Sheffield. Bell played on both of the teams. Sheffield played in 80.
Yep.
Those teams, played two tight games, 4-3 and 4-2, and you felt the U.S. teams had a chance. But then in 1982, Kirkland looked like a pretty good team, but it was, we didn't see that so dominant that this is the team that's finally going to beat Taiwan. In the big game, 40,000 people. Big kid Cody Webster puts together the pitching performance of his life, hits a mammoth home run to center field, a tape measure job, and they win it 6-0. And I think it was the biggest shot that Little League needed in the arm when they were in trouble. Let's face it, you keep having blowouts on national TV, it's not fun, and maybe the TV contract goes away.
And at that point, 5 years in a row, a Taiwanese team had won and ended that Taiwanese dynasty, and I agree with you, that was a great moment. It
was one of the great moments, and of course Trumbull, Connecticut in 1989 came out and pulled an upset win. Those were the two pivotal games. In between, the U.S. did pick up a couple wins in 83, and I think again, I'm trying to think again in 84. But again, the irony of it is now, the Japanese have put together a little run right now, and South Korea won 2 years ago. South Korea is back, Tokyo, Japan is back, and you can't take it away from these guys. They are very disciplined, they learn to play the game right, and that is their biggest focus, and that's their national pastime is baseball. So those are the teams you're going to have to beat if you're going to win the World Series, and the U.S. has lost a couple in a row.
And I talked about that a little bit in my article this week, how Little League Baseball has changed from the 8-team single elimination tournament to where it is now, how the money's come in with TV contracts. But again, USA, we're back to the point where it'd be good to see us win a World Series. Steph, you're over there and cover it.
Absolutely. It's always a great time being over there. I've said it before, there's no better place to watch a baseball game than from the first and third base photo wells. You feel like you're on the field, and it's a great place to catch a game, and I've been lucky enough to get to spend the time there, and I've gotten some great pictures over the years.
And Steph actually took the photo of a home run being robbed that appeared in the Boston Globe.
Wow.
Got picked up and
So one of those over the fence.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
And you're at the right place, right time, and boom, you get the shot.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, it was actually.
Cool.
It would have been a walk-off home run.
Yeah.
And he snagged it over the fence.
That's great.
But what's the biggest change? I mean, that's a perfect. What's the biggest
Well,
change?
let's
you've
face
seen?
it,
I mean, you've
it-
been doing this now a lot long, and I was there. I mean, I watched those Taiwanese teams.
Sure.
But what's the more things change? The more
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it, now you're 16 teams.
Yeah.
Now you've got pitching rules that,
Pitch count.
the pitch count, which plays a huge role, and sometimes some of the coaches even out-coach themselves
Oh my gosh.
by holding guys out, thinking, okay, if I save this guy, he's good in 2 days or whatever. You better win this game first. How many times have you seen a game get away because a coach or manager of a ball club makes that change?
My father taught me. He was my manager for years, and on the big field, senior little league, we did really well. But the one thing he taught me that still sticks in my mind is you win the game at hand.
That's right.
You win the game at hand, because if you don't, it doesn't matter.
There is no tomorrow
It doesn't
in many
matter who
cases.
you saved and who you have.
That's
and,
right.
And, right along, I did get that plug in for my dad. He had a great baseball mind. But
Sure.
back to what you were saying, what else in the rules that have changed that have really...
Well, let's face it, you also have, and they continue to tweak it. I'm sure I'm going to have to look at the rules again this year, because every year some things change, but every player on that team, they all get a chance where they have to play, they have to bat, they have to play a defensive position,
Mandatory play.
At least
Which
one
I
inning,
think is-
although if you have a certain amount of players, they have to bat, but may not have to play the defensive position. There are some tweaking of the rules depending on the number of guys you're bringing to Williamsport. So the pitching thing is the biggest that I've seen, and I know it's about protecting guys' arms and different things like that. I know that one of the great games years ago, two teams out of Kentucky and Texas. A 2-1 game, maybe the greatest game I've ever seen played at the World Series, a 2-1 game that went to 9 or 10 innings. Both guys go the distance. At that point, you were able to go 9 innings. I think one guy had a one-hitter, the other had a no-hitter through that time. Got him Walker Kelly out of Texas, and Aaron Avery, I think it was, out of Kentucky.
Who I believe got the win.
They got the win.
Yeah.
Kentucky went on to win it. Their team out of Louisville. What an unbelievable game, but I'm sure the amount of pitches thrown in that game led to some of the rules that they have today.
I have no idea how you guys remember all of these details.
I don't remember yesterday, but I can.
Steph's over there thinking, Jim can't remember where his phone is,
Yeah, that's right.
or where he's supposed to be, but he can talk about these games like they were yesterday.
Yeah, I can. It's funny. I remember. It's like remember who won the Heisman Trophy. I remember the ones way back.
Yeah.
I remember some of the early years of the Little League World Series that we did, or growing up as a kid.
We got to take another commercial
Sure.
break. Pay for you being here. We'll go to the good folks at Fax and Bowling, and we'll be right back, and we'll take a look at. We'll switch sports. We'll go to the one with points on the end when we come back.
Okay.
Let the good times roll at Fax and Lanes in Williamsport. Fax and Lanes offers good fun for everyone. From our state-of-the-art bowling lanes and spacious arcade to our award-winning pizza and wings at the American Bar and Grill. Planning a party? Let Fax and Lanes make it a day to remember with great food and fun. Fax and Lanes offers leagues for all ages and a full-service pro shop. Fax and Lanes on River Avenue in Williamsport. Fun happens here.
And we're back. During the commercial break, I had to ask about the points on the end reference. So I think that we're coming back to talk about local high school football.
Sure.
They had to explain the reference to me, so we'll get into what we've got going for the local high school football season.
See, you never know what you're going to learn when you're with me. You know, hey, high school football near and dear to your heart.
Sure.
Williamsport Millionaires. I mean, you've covered them, radio.
Yeah.
And then Cable Sports Productions.
Sure.
You've covered the whole area. Done a wonderful job.
Thanks.
You were just a little after my career, so I don't have any tape. But other than that, hey, we're going to get together, obviously, and we're going to do 2 games live,
Yeah.
which is new. We're going to Webb Weekly Live. We're going to have your game, your Cable Sports Production game, and we're going to have a PA Sports Live game, which is going to give us basically 2 games of the week. What are your thoughts on that? Because you've been doing this a long time and you've seen technology change and where
Sure.
we're going. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was a matter of us evolving. We've been lucky enough, to have a great run with a lot of great sponsors and doing a game of the week that, we've been doing since the 80s. That a lot of people I talk to have all the VHS tapes or now the DVDs of all of the things. Oh, what the heck is a VHS tape? But all of the games, and now guys that we did their dad's games, now we're doing their kids' games.
Fantastic.
And so a lot of great memories. And so over the years, one thing we're going to do, we're going to still out of just consistency, but I'm sure that'll eventually go away. We're going to still be Sunday at 10, Monday at 7 at Comcast 190, out of something that's people are used to getting up and watching the game at 10 or Monday night. That's always been something that people remember. But as you evolve, and Jim, you talked to me a while ago, and then we got together this year, the time has come to start looking at the potential to stream all the games, if not all but, whichever ones we're able to do technically and you have permission to stream the games. So this was the natural tie-in. You get into 60,000 households, a great marketing part to help promote the fact of what we're doing in cable sports. Cable sports stays exactly the same. Babe will be back with me for Babe's 29th year of 30 years. Drew Holt was the original color man.
Babe tells me he's only 40. How can that
Well,
be?
he's, he would tell you what he is, because Babe makes himself older than he really does. He's the only guy that I know that says, well, I'm 70. Or is that right?
I
Well,
know Babe,
but he's not 70.
A good man.
Yeah,
Babe's a good
absolutely. So Babe and I go back, one of my best friends, and we go back a lot of years. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of, because, off the air, and not that I don't get, a little geared up for ball games, but we're always having some fun. If you're not having fun doing it, that's the key. But we put a tremendous amount of time into the games. You couldn't do it without Mike Strunk, who has been our Iron Mike Strunk. This guy has missed, I think, one game, literally one game, and even had a motorcycle accident and made a game. Mike's been our Iron guy for all the years. He had been at the cable company, now has his own production company, and also one of the captains of the Hiawatha. He puts it together. We've got a crew of about 10 people that we utilize to do the game of the week, and we've been lucky enough to do some of the biggest games. But streaming live is going to give us one more option for folks either at another game or their wife drags them to the mall, but you can still look at it on your phone and know, hey, what's going on with Millionaires or Sock or South or Montoursville.
A great feature, PASportslive.com, WebWeeklyLive.com. You can also, if you didn't catch it live, the replays will be up, so you can always go back later and watch the games anytime you have
Oh yeah,
time.
and amazing thing is we've had in cable sports productions. We've had a lot of folks that have watched Sunday at 10, Monday at 7. The last few years, we've had cablesportsproductions.com, and there's going to be a link with Webb Weekly Live.
Right.
And that has been a big thing, because the games last year, we would continue to add to the total because all the games are there, where you would get into thousands of hits, where people are watching games, parts of games, to go back and watch football, watch basketball, and go from there. So this is just going to enhance that, especially with all the promotion you're going to be doing here, to be able to, here's two key games that you want to watch.
And you and I hopefully are going to get together and do a high school preview. There's so many good teams, so many good players.
I'm not sure when this is going to happen, but I know we're going to try to get together.
Well, who's the team to look out for going into this high school football season?
It's got to be your...
Well, I think, first of all, the Williamsburg Millionaires,
Yeah.
it could have their best season in recent memory. But they've got to take one at a time. They've got to remember, they've got to continue to learn how to win. Williamsport last year had a winning record, got out to a big start, then they lost some. This is a team with a young coaching staff, new coach in Chuck Cruz, that all the players seem to really like. But they've got a lot of talent, and I think if they take one at a time, they can have an unbelievable season. I think Montoursville is going to be very good. You've got Bryson Messina back his senior year. J.C. Kiefer does an amazing job putting the team together.
JC, his teams, and just to get in quick, as fundamentally sound as any teams I
Oh,
watch.
no question.
So,
He was a perfect fit to take over, for Jim Bergen and the Bowman traditions of Mantoursville. He's the guy. Loyalsock Lancers, don't sell them short. There is a young guy named Hunter Webb, and I'm hearing Hunter Webb is about as close to Mike Kinney as people have said, from a linebacker spot and a running back spot.
Hunter Webb, I thought he was a baseball player.
Well, I think he might be that too, but I'm hearing really good things. And of course, they've got Watkins, the young now sophomore, but Marcus Williams, the versatile player back from the tough injury a year ago. So Sock's going to be pretty good.
And I know you love watching athletes.
Yeah.
And you and I talk. Marcus Williams could be unbelievably outstanding and put a season together if he comes back fully healthy. He has that it factor.
They've got two potential guys they can run behind center. South Williamsport, first of all, it may not be the brag-alone year, but the tradition that Chris Eisworth has built at Southside, and great offensive upfront blocking. They've got their quarterback back, I think Dunkelberger, and they also have some pretty good running backs. And they're keep an eye on the Mounties, but the Mounties' schedule is that much better. They're playing Danville, Central Columbia, Line Mountain.
The schedule, and I understand the reclassification, and we could do a whole show on that, but I don't know if South got treated really fairly with the schedule they're now playing. And I'm not saying that it's tough to. You and I have watched it over the years.
Sure.
A lot of times a team is a victim or a benefactor of their schedule, and this year will be a tough year for Chris to adjust to having those type of games back to back.
They've got some tough teams, and South Sock should be a great game.
He'll do a good job. I'm
excited. I'm excited about all the really good teams. We've had years when everybody seemed to be down a bit, but the fact that the Millionaires seem to be back, and then all the other teams are continuing to play well, and we're hoping for the best for Lycoming, because on cable sports we do try to do one or two Lycoming games, and again we're trying to pick the best games of the week. First game we're doing is Central Mountain at Williamsport. Big night for the '86 Millionaire Eastern Conference champions. Gary Brown is coming back, greatest back of all time at Williamsport High School, the running backs coach of the Cowboys. He's going to be in Seattle Thursday night. And Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, is flying Gary Brown in his private jet to Williamsport to be here that day. Also, Gary's going to be honored in the new Sports Walk downtown. That's part of the new Trade and Transit Center 2 that is going to be dedicated that morning. So we're hoping that Gary makes it for that in time. But Gary will be there forever, the bronze medallion, Hollywood Walk of Fame style, that'll be honoring the best 16 overall athletes in Lycoming County history.
Cool.
And that's going to kick things off that particular morning. So
that's fantastic.
Gary and a lot of the guys, I know Tim Montgomery, and I just talked to Tim. Tim has a wedding that weekend, and he said, if I try to get out of it, I might be divorced. Does that sound like Tim Montgomery? But Tim, I know, he's sending a speech in that either I'll read or Ken Sawyer, either at the game or at their banquet. And but the tough part is, the Little League Baseball World Series goes on until the 28th. So it really puts us up against it. We're going to be in the middle of preparing for football, and Little League will continue the next day, Saturday and Sunday.
Absolutely. And our doubleheader, the first Friday of high school football season, the PA Sports Live game, we'll have Mount Carmel and Loyalsock.
Yeah.
The Lancers will go down, and they're going to find out real quick where they're at.
Yeah,
you go down to the Silver Bowl, that's not a fun place to start your season.
That's a great opening game.
Jamie Spencer, going to be my play-by-play guy. Paul McGinn, And Webb Weekly sort of took over operations here at PA Sports Live, and we're going to make, like you said, you could be sitting somewhere watching both games. So you could take in 3 games. You could be at Montoursville watching you up at Williamsport on a split screen and watching Loyalsock down at Mount Carmel.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is. And for true football fans of high school, our area is far behind what's going on nationally. And I thank you for coming on board. We're trying to get our area, where a lot of areas are with high school athletics and coverage, and also the more tape that you do and we do, the more that are available for recruiting for these young athletes.
Sure.
And we're going to take a break. We're going to take a quick spot for Reptile Land, my friend Clyde the Glide, and what's going on over there. And we'll come back with a closing thought with Gary.
Grab your explorer's passport and take off on an adventure at Clyde Peeling's Reptiland. Encounter a Komodo dragon. Go on a Jurassic safari. Meet an alligator. Feed feathered friends in the new Parakeet Landing. And more. Enjoy all there is to see and do at the zoo and get your explorer's passport stamp for each one. Experience 40 species of reptiles and amphibians, life-size dinosaurs, beautiful budgies, and 5 different shows daily only at Clyde Peeling's Reptiland, Route 15, Allenwood.
All right, and we're back. And before we close things out, I gotta ask.
Okay.
In all your years of covering local sports, what's been your favorite moment? What's been sticks out in your mind the most of everything you've covered?
Well, there have been great moments, but I think it would have to be the '84 Millionaires. Pete White's team. We had covered the games over the years. We were doing radio at the time. The TV was a couple of years away. And we saw these young guys, Mark Graves and Peter White Jr. and Jim Exdorf, and then Sherba coming on.
Gotta
and
give a
Seth
shout out
Birch.
to my buddy Jeff Sherba.
All those guys, coming up as young guys, sophomores, and then you saw them lose to the eventual state champion, Whitehall, their sophomore year, Chester their junior year, and you knew that the senior year was their year. Pete had a team that was unlike any. They played an unbelievably tough schedule. They beat everybody you had to beat. They beat them twice in most cases.
Yep.
And it was a dream year that there's never been a time in the history of sports in this area that you had the entire region jump on board something called Millionaire Magic. 30-0. It's my alma mater, so it meant a lot to me. So I took it personally. We were part of this team. Millionaire Magic was something that we had a guy that did our promos at the station at the time, and I think he's the guy that really came up with the term Millionaire Magic in the promos for the game, maybe a year or so before. And then I suggested to him, you should use the song "You Can Do Magic." Other people will say that, but that's where it came from.
Wow.
Ken Sawyer is the first guy to call it the Magic Dome. He said that on the air in a game, and we started calling it the Magic Dome. Ken Sawyer.
I was wondering where that came from.
That's where it came from. Pete White may have a different interpretation, but I'm telling you, that's where it started. All of that promotion, we were on the old WWPA, which was a very strong station at that time. It was a dream come true those years leading up, and playing incredible defense, beating teams by an incredible margin. And I know the '99 team was an unbelievably athletic team with Chevy Troutman and all the guys. That team lost 2 games. I would love to see the dream matchup, and people argue. But the way the '84 team beat teams, and beat great teams, out of the Philly area and all over the state of Pennsylvania, the way they beat them. They beat Altoona with 2 former future NBA players on that team by 30 the final time they played them, 99-69, and Pete White Jr. had 30 in that game. That's before the three-point shot. So that's a thrill, and we mentioned the sports walk. It's the only team getting a bronze medallion on the sports walk. It's a 30-0 team, 84 Millionaires. That was my greatest memory. The '99 team was great. I had a love for the '95 team. It was a Cinderella team that nearly won the state title. They lost in the final by 5, pulled a huge upset off over Chester. And that was a great memory for the Millionaires.
Absolutely.
Loyal Sock, we had a couple of teams that went deep. One that played for a state title. Great memories there. South Williamsport, Dominic Bragalone. What he did for South, I don't think we'll ever see some of those numbers ever again in maybe all of Pennsylvania, certainly in this area. And then the other great memory's got to be Gary Brown. Watching Gary Brown, my favorite all-time player. Gary Brown and what he did and how easy he made it look, and a guy that went on to make us proud at Penn State and then in the NFL, and now what he does. And Darrell Blackman was second to him. But Gary Brown, the greatest ever. So Gary Brown, I think, and the '84 Millionaires, and call those other guys right. And hey, Montoursville had a couple of runs.
And I consider Gary a good friend and knew his family very well.
Yeah.
And there couldn't have been a quieter, more unassuming young man. And when he got on that football field, just we'll go back to Millionaire Magic and use it in that term.
Yeah.
And then for the Houston Oilers, and,
San Diego and
yeah,
the Giants.
and then the Giants. Heck of a career.
So those are some of the great memories. I've been lucky enough to be able to do this in my hometown and also do the Little League World Series. Some of these great memories of the World Series, and I have a lot of pride and love this town. It's happening here. And it gives me a big kick when they mention Williamsport, PA.
Absolutely.
A lot of people take this town for granted. You look around, look how beautiful it is, and look at what we have here. Steve Keener's done an amazing job. Little League, one of the greatest venues in all of sports. And how many times you talk to people around town that say, I haven't been over there in 25 years. Well, guys, you're missing something in your hometown. Go over, catch a night game, catch the great venue. Volunteer Stadium's a great ballpark, and Lomity is legendary. That's what it's all about, Williamsport. So it's been a fun run.
Well, unfortunately, you and I could talk and stuff.
We could.
Unfortunately, we got to take another break here for Facts and Bowling, and I have Juliana, my Web Kids segment. She has a special guest here today.
There's a guy you know.
A guy I know pretty well, and I'm looking forward to seeing those two together. But thank you so much,
Jim.
And obviously
it's going to be fun.
We're going to be
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Working together and for the good of the young athlete in our area.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, and I appreciate the opportunity with WebWeeklyLive.com. It's going to be fun as we hook up not only this fall but this winter with a lot of sports and a lot of fun, basketball, maybe some wrestling. It's going to be a blast, and there is all kind of potential of what can happen as you now can stream things. Plus, we're also talking about doing a sports show on Monday nights, and we'll talk about that in a future segment on that.
Facts and Bowling, roll them straight.
Let the good times roll at Facts and Lanes in Williamsport. Facts and Lanes offers good fun for everyone. From our state-of-the-art bowling lanes and spacious arcade to our award-winning pizza and wings at the American Bar and Grill. Planning a party? Let Facts and Lanes make it a day to remember with great food and fun. Facts and Lanes offers leagues for all ages and a full-service pro shop. Facts and Lanes on River Avenue in Williamsport. Fun happens here.
You know, it's my great pleasure to introduce an upcoming TV sensation, a talk show star, somebody that, can you sing? I mean,
Don't ask me that.
no. I mean, if you can sing, we can make this thing work. But her name is Juliana. It's not Juliana, it's Juliana. You have to have that sort of an English touch. And, of course, there's Madonna, there's Cher, there's Beyonce. Some other names?
Sia,
Okay.
Drake.
One name, that's all you need. So you're not even allowed to use your last name, because if you're going to be a star, you just use one name. You know, I must not be that much of a star because I got to use both names, but you already have how many shows under your belt? How many shows have you done?
About 8.
About 8. And you're doing a talk segment here on Webb Weekly Live.
Mm-hmm.
And who are some of the guests? Have you talked to some big names?
I've met with Alexis Grease.
Oh yeah, she's a good singer. I know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could interview anybody, who would it be? Anybody.
Probably a dancer because I love to dance.
Okay, so you do dance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about Justin Bieber? If you could interview Justin Bieber, would you interview him?
Mm-hmm.
Is he one of your favorites?
He's probably up there with my favorites, yeah.
Okay, now you're in what grade?
I'm going into 5th.
5th grade, what school?
South Williamsport Rommel Building.
She is a Southside Mountie. Her name is Juliana. We're going to bring in a football star and a pretty good baseball player from Loyal Sock. You ready to interview Hunter Webb?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
I understand you're on your way to being the next star of stage and screen and TV.
Mm-hmm.
I better get out of here. She only has one name she uses.
Hello, I'm Juliana from Webb Kids. This week's guest is a Webb Kid. With me I have Hunter Webb. How are you doing, Hunter?
I'm doing good. How are you, Juliana?
Good, thank you for asking.
No problem.
I see you have glasses on. Are those real or are you just styling?
No, they're real. I actually went to go get a football physical the other day, and apparently my eyesight wasn't up to par, so they recommended me for glasses. I went in and got them checked, and a week and a half later, here I am.
So what have you been doing all summer?
I've been playing baseball, playing basketball, playing football, lifting, doing speed camp, and just hanging out with friends. What have you been doing?
I did theater camp in the middle of summer. I go with friends a lot to swim.
That's cool.
I know you go to Loyal Sock. What is your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, either football or baseball, because you get to hit people in football, and in baseball you get to hit a ball far. So I like hitting things.
I know you travel a lot for baseball. Do you like traveling?
Yes and no. I like the places we go, but sometimes the car rides get long, and Papa Jim doesn't let me play my music, so that kind of makes them even more long, it feels like. Do you like traveling?
Not really. Who do you play for your first game?
We play Mount Carmel. It should be a really good game, actually. If anybody can come. If you can't make it, watch it on Webb Weekly Live. Should be a good one.
What is your favorite place you've been for traveling?
Favorite place? Probably James Madison University, just because their baseball facilities and their football facilities are unreal. And they're just really nice there.
Are you looking forward to go back to school?
I'm looking forward to seeing my friends and playing sports, yeah. It's been a long summer. Are you?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be in middle school.
Oh, you're going to be in middle school?
Mm-hmm.
Have fun.
Thank you. What is it like having Jim Webb as your dad?
Having Jim Webb as a dad, it's great. I mean, he looks out for us, me and my brother, and he shows us the ropes and makes us into good people.
Well, it's nice seeing you again, Hunter.
Nice seeing you too.
Have a great school year.
You too.
We'll be back after a commercial break.
Let the good times roll at Faxon Lanes in Williamsport. Faxon Lanes offers good fun for everyone. From our state-of-the-art bowling lanes and spacious arcade to our award-winning pizza and wings at the American Bar and Grill. Planning a party? Let Faxon Lanes make it a day to remember with great food and fun. Faxon Lanes offers leagues for all ages and a full-service pro shop. Faxon Lanes on River Avenue in Williamsport. Fun happens here.
And we have another episode of Webb Weekly Live in the books, and it was great to be with you today, Steph.
You too.
And my favorite part's always Webb Kids with Juliana.
Yeah, it was nice to have an actual Webb kid in here today. I guess he's not really a kid, though, so much anymore.
No, Hunter.
I don't know what you've been feeding your kids, but it's ridiculous.
Hunter, it's amazing how he's grown the last year or two, and I thought him and Juliana's interaction was fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I think Juliana's got a career ahead of her in broadcasting. So.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway, any closing thoughts?
Just to be safe out there. We got a lot of traffic coming into the area this week and for the next 10 days or so, so please be careful, take some extra time, and have some patience with the people that are coming in. Williamsport's not easy to navigate if you aren't familiar with the area, so be patient and be nice.
Absolutely, and the same thing. Welcome the world and do Williamsport proud in your interaction with everybody, and be safe out there. And as always, God bless America.